relationship. The SLA is an agreement between a customer and a service provider. OLA is an agreement between the service provider and the organization's internal team. And an underpinning contract is an agreement between a service provider and a vendor. Okay. This slide shows some generic SLA elements, some things that you can typically find within a service level agreement. General information about the SLA, an introduction of who's involved, right? The parties, all of the resources, who has the authority, signatories, the service description, and the period for that SLA. Reporting and reviewing, what type of content will be included in the review and report, the frequency. Sometimes it goes so specific to outline the format that the information will be provided. Incentives and penalties, which are very important. Incentives for consistently meeting your SLA, and then penalties for breach. Roles and responsibilities of all the involved parties. Support, service hours, information on support team, change procedures, and escalation. And delivery of the SLA, availability, reliability, transaction responses, times, throughput, batch turnaround times, contingency and security, and charging. It's another one of your financial management terms. So this is just some generic information about an SLA. Probably won't be on the exam, but just good to know. Service level agreement structures. The most appropriate SLA structure ensures that all services and customers are covered using the service catalog. So it's just a good note. So if you're thinking about, okay, what would this SLA look like? So it would cover everything. Following all different types of SLA structures can be used: service-based SLAs, customer-based SLAs, and multi-level SLAs.
Yeah. And, oh, actually, can you go back 2 slides? The slide where there was charging. Would you set one more back? So charging is on there, but you wouldn't necessarily set an SLA for budget or accounting, because those are, the accounting one would probably be accounted for in the charging SLA, and the budget one is, it might be pretty accurate, but it's still a fictitious number.
Right. So that was just something that we were speculating.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So SLA structure, service-based, customer-based, and multi-level. I don't think, let's see. Okay, so let me just give you some information on each as I go through these. Okay. So service-based SLAs covers one service for all customers of that service. So sometimes organizations say, we provide data center support, and here's our SLA. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a government entity or a small company involved in the private sector. You could be a training organization. It doesn't matter. Here's our SLA. Customer base, SLAs. So it's an agreement with an individual customer group. And so instead of being focused on the service to say, here's the service that we provide and here's the SLA for that service, the organization establishes a customer-based SLA to say, hey, if it's IBM, they get this level of service. Or they get this service at this level. If it's a smaller organization, they can get the same service, but it won't be at the same level, right? Most of the time, the customers prefer that because they can, well, one, they feel like they're getting a customized solution, right? They feel like, okay, well, you guys understand us, you've taken into account some of the things that we said, and you providing us this service at this level because you understand our business. Sometimes customers don't want to feel like they're getting the exact same service as everyone else. So customization is very important to some customers.
Yes.
And so then we have, lastly, multi-level SLA, which includes 3 different layers: corporate, customer, and service. I think we'll talk about that in the next one. So the corporate level, it covers all the generic SLA, SLM issues appropriate to every customer throughout the organization. At the customer level, it covers the SLM issues relevant to the particular customer group. And at the service level, it covers all the SLM issues relevant to the specific service. So instead of having just service-based or customer-based, multi-level provides an SLA combining all different levels.
Is it typically presented as a composite number? Or are there multiple numbers that are broken out? Like, here's our multi-level SLA and there are 4 different subsets.
Yes.
The second one, okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the second one, I'm sorry. So the multi-level SLA has a service-specific SLA, customer-level SLA, and then the corporate SLA. And so each SLA is broken out, exactly what you were just saying, is broken out and have metrics and targets for each.
Got it. So this is what we do with our specifically customer service team. So we have to report out service specific, then we do customer specific based on customer lifetime value. And then we've got corporate level where customer service is responsible for reporting out product issues.
Excellent.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Okay, an SLA process. So typically we start with the planning of an SLA. So this is the planning of a service. So if we go back to strategy and, okay, what are we going to provide? Who are we going to provide it to? When are we going to provide it? Who's going to be involved? Okay, so what does that look like as far as a service level agreement? So that's the planning of an SLA. We move from establish the function. I don't necessarily like the term. Into implementation, right? We draft, negotiate. Once again, ITIL is encouraging that we negotiate with the client in regards to the SLA. We review any underpinning contracts. We talked about that earlier because we want to make sure that all of our other agreements are in alignment with our SLA to our client. We agree on the SLA after we've reviewed the underpinning contracts and the OLAs. And then we manage the ongoing process. It's important to note that we monitor, report, and review on the SLAs If you have a government contract, most of the time that happens, and that's kind of built into the contract. Otherwise, not so much. So if I'm talking from just say a personal experience, I have an agreement set up with Microsoft to provide some services to support my business. There are some SLAs that are in the contract, and I pay them a monthly fee. However, Microsoft doesn't, they probably monitor, but they don't report and provide me any information based on the agreement that's set. I just keep going along with the service as long as it's available and it's working. Who cares? So it's important that the SLAs are monitored, reported on, and reviewed on on an ongoing basis. And as a part of that periodic review, you review the SLM process itself. You review also in addition to the SLAs, the OLAs, and the underpinning contracts, because if anything changes with the SLAs, you want to make sure that you review those as well so that everything can stay in alignment. And then that feeds back into your planning if any changes need to be made. So most of the processes that ITIL provides will follow the same type of flow where you're planning an activity, you design the activity. It's like life cycles built inside of the ITIL life cycle. So anytime you're in doubt of what to do as far as a process is concerned, you think about the ITIL life cycle as a whole. You start with some type of strategy or vision, planning, designing, transition, operation, and then continual service improvement. So most of the processes that you see will follow that same flow.
Got it.
Service level management metrics and KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. KPI is a metric we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's absolutely measurable. So SLM metrics and KPIs, percentage reduction in SLA targets missed, percentage reduction in SLA targets threatened, right? So maybe we didn't miss it, but we were about to. We came really, really close. And so because we don't want to miss it next month or next week, we need to make some adjustments. Percentage increase in customer perception and satisfaction of SLA achievements via service reviews and customer satisfaction survey responses. So we're not going to wait to see what our customer thinks about us. After a service is provided or a service component is provided or on some type of planned interval, we're going to gauge customer perception. And we may send out customer surveys or initiate service reviews. And lastly, percentage reduction in SLA breaches caused because of third-party support contracts, which we were just talking about, right? With the middleware. Mm-hmm. So maybe we missed an SLA or breached an agreement because of an underpinning contract or an OLA, which sometimes happens. So these are some of the metrics that you could measure in regards to service level management.
And
any questions about service level management?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Service catalog management. It's concerned with operational and ready-to-use services. So if we think about our service portfolio, we have the service pipeline, the service catalog, and the retired services. So within service design, we're going to be focused on our service catalog because those are the services that we're actively providing. We're not providing any services in pipeline, so we really don't care about designing any of those services because we're not providing them. And the retired ones, we've already provided them. Maybe they didn't work out too well or they weren't sustainable. And so we're not focused on defining those or designing those either. We're only
Okay.
focused in service catalog with the things that are operational, the things that we're actively providing.
Can I take a guess and say that retired product is going to come up again in service transition?
It will, because we're going to talk about knowledge management.
Yes.
So at some point we are going to talk about it. Yes.